Okay, in this brief video, I'm just going to introduce you to the concept of a join, of an inner join. Now, there's several different types of table joins that you can express in T-SQL. We're not going to look at those for today. We'll save those for another day. But to create a simple inner join between two related tables, all we need to use is the inner join keyword and the on keyword. And I'm going to show how that works right now, and some shortcuts to make it a little bit easier. Say, for example, we want to look for all of the orders for a given customer. We happen to know the customer's ID. We want to see their first name, their last name, as well as the date or dates when they've ordered. So we would do something like that, like this. We can start with customer, So we want the customer ID, we want the first name, we want the last name, and we want the order date. And we're going to pluck that from the customers table. Now, we happen to know that customers has a relationship to the order table, right? And we're going to need the orders table. So I'm going to type in inner join and then orders on customer ID equals orders, or I'm sorry, customer ID. All right, already looks a little bit confusing, right? So what happens is we've got some ambiguity here. Ambiguous column name, customer ID. What my intent is to relate the customer table's customer ID column to the orders table customer ID column. So what I'll do is preface it like this: customers.customer ID. No more ambiguity. We know exactly what we are looking at, and we'll do the same here. Now we're going to see the same thing is true here: ambiguous column customer ID. So customers dot. Now everything else, SQL can figure this out on its own, because first name and last name, well, they're not going to be found in the orders table, and it's smart enough to know it would pull first and last name from the customers table and order date from the orders table. Let's come back to that thought in just a moment, though. I have some strong feelings about that. Finally, let's put a where clause in here. So we're going to look at customer ID of 1. So let's execute this query. And we can see that Stephanie Buckley has created two orders, one on March 26th and March 25th of 2010. Okay, so now, what I would probably prefer to do in this case, instead of typing out the full table name here, is to use an alias again. We learned about aliases. When we're dealing with aliases with regards to table names, we don't have to use the as. We can just do this: customer C. So I've given it an alias of C, and I'm going to give orders an alias of O. And this is pretty common usage in real world scenarios. I think I always do this, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to replace customers with C and orders with O. And now let's rerun, and you can see how much less code we had to write. Now, again, I hate ambiguity, and for me, this is not really an issue of can the SQL processor figure it out, but whether it's human readable. And so for somebody who is not familiar with your application, do them the courtesy of going ahead and being explicit with where you intend these columns to come from, because they may not be familiar with your database layout just yet as they're looking at your SQL code. So at any rate, this is how I would write an inner join. We're pulling all the records from the customers table that have an adjoining record in the orders table, and we're going to only find those customers that have the customer ID equal to 1. And so then I pull back columns from both tables and show them within our result pane. All right, and we can use the same technique to go ahead and extend this out. Here we have our first inner join, but let's join one more table. Inner join order items, and I would probably just use OI on O dot order ID equals to OI dot order ID. And so I'm probably also going to at this point pick OI dot order item. Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to join it and not use it, at least here in the select results or in the where clause. Okay, so now let's execute this and see what happens, and we can see at least which items were actually ordered, okay, from our orders. So we could just keep on adding more joins and joins. At some point, especially it depends on how large your data set is, but you should limit the number of joins to the extent that you can and still get the data that you need. Okay, so that wraps up our discussion of inner joins. There's also outer joins, and there's also some other options that we can choose, but let's keep it simple for this first pass through joins. And in a more advanced series on Transact SQL, we can talk about other types of joins, unions, left joins, right joins, and we'll just leave it at that. Okay, so we will pick it up in the next video and talk about grouping. So we'll see you there. Thank you.